So I saw a video the other day. Now I don't know who actually made it because I didn't watch the video. I just saw it as a thumbnail, and it said something about Sim being the ultimate game mode, or you need to play Sim if you want RP, and that's partially true. It is easier to get points in Sim, or RP points in Sim, in my opinion. Now, I might just be saying that because I play in G Squad. We usually run squads when I play Sim, and we win a lot. Maybe that's why I'm saying that. But regardless, I feel very comfortable in this game mode. I've played in several Sim tournaments, played it a lot in the past, went purple on Thunderskill before it was a rip meme, and, I think kind of understand Sim. So what we're doing today is some tips that'll help you in Sim, because there are certain things that really, really irk me that new players do in Sim, and it's very detrimental to your team. So the first thing that we're going to start off is teammates. Identifying your teammates and knowing that none of your teammates have markers on them, right? So before you load into the game, you get a list of tanks in War Thunder, and it'll tell you what tanks are on your team and what tanks are on the other team. So what that means for all you German tier 3 heavy tankers and your Tiger 1s, you may have to share your team space with a Type 60, for example. A Type 60. This is just something that happened recently to me yesterday. But they will kill Type 60s because I don't know. I don't see them a lot. I have no idea why people kill Type 60s if they're Germans. But what I want you to know is there's more than just you on the battlefield. So check your team list before you go into a Sim game. Check the team list, figure out who you're playing with, and then you will start to be successful. You won't have to deal with the team kills. You won't have to hurt people on your team. You won't have to get into random scuffles. Because I know usually if I get team killed, I'm pissed enough to kill you. I mean, that's usually how it works. I don't always, but that's kind of how it works. And people are like that in Sim. If they get killed by you, if you're on their team, and it's not a crazy shot. I mean, I'm talking about disrespectful ass, unidentifying shots. When people pull up to you and you're typing in chat, dude, I'm on your team, and they're like, not answering. You're like, dude, please stop shooting me. I see that you're shooting me. I'm on your team. Don't shoot me. And then they shoot you again. That happens a lot. So communicate with your team. Check out what tanks are on your team list. Press tab. Look at it. It's still public. It'll still tell you what people are playing. And trust me, it'll go a long, long way in your introduction to Sim. Now, the second thing that we have to talk about is something that is very noticeable on the E100, and that's why I'm playing it in this background footage. It's called parallax. Now, what parallax is the difference between where your sight is and your gun. So the closer an enemy tank comes to you, the farther away your gun and your camera matter, or the gun and your gun sight, because they're coming closer within the triangle of where those two meet. Now, this is very hard for me to explain without a visual diagram, so I will put something up on the screen so you can see what I mean. But basically, the gun sight in this game, when you're playing Sim, is where the real gun sight on the tank would be. There's no correction for it or anything like that. There's no thing that merges it together. When you play RB, the gun sight that you're looking at is coming straight at the tip of the barrel. It comes right out of the end of the barrel. But in Sim, obviously, like I said, it'll be next to the gun, below the gun, or above the gun. And you have to aim for that accordingly. So you can see where the gun sight is on the E100, so I can kind of give you a visual representation. It's that thing on top of the turret to the left that you see. Then when I zoom in to go shoot at something, this thing has a bad zoom radius. It doesn't have like a 10 times scope like the Abrams. It has a very shit one. And you can see the gun and where it is. So you have to aim up and to the left a little bit for every vehicle, or up and to the right with some other vehicles. And that's something that you have to test on your own. If you put bushes on your tank, they will cover up this gun sight. And I've done this countless times where I load into a Sim game because I have an RB tank that's bushed to shit because I don't like getting shot in RB. And I can't see out of my gun sight because I put too many bushes in. So before you load into Sim 2, as well as checking, hey, who am I playing with? What teams are here? Maybe even hop in a squad. Test your tank in a simulator test drive. Just check if the bushes are interfering and get used to the parallax before you hop in. You'll be able to shoot, the standing targets. You'll be like, oh wow, I see where the gun goes. And another way to check this for a tank that you've never played before, and maybe there are some tanks I've never played before, I hop in. You can check in the hangar with the X-ray view. You can go to the X-ray view, you can see where the gun sight is, and kind of go off that. And then go to the test range and then use it to test. And then if you use your coax while you're in the gun sight, you can usually figure out where the gun is going to land compared to the coax and whatnot. Now there's one other thing that I want to talk about, and this is the most important thing, I believe, for your sim experience to really make it worthwhile. And then after that, I'm going to talk a little bit about this game that we're playing and give you guys some tips on how to conduct yourselves accordingly if you are in a heavy tank. But the spawn system for sim is a little different than everything else. It's not that you can't spawn twice if you don't do well enough. In RB, that's the case. If you don't get enough SP, you can't spawn twice. But in sim, you get 2 spawns for medium tanks, light tanks, and most TDs. It kind of jumps around in certain TDs, like the Ferdinand is a 1 spawn TD. It's a very heavily armored one. The E100, a heavy tank, is a 1 spawn vehicle. Helicopters are also 1 spawn vehicles along with planes. And you get at least 1 air spawn and 2 vehicle spawns on the ground. So you can spawn an AA and get 2 lives as the AA, but whatever you spawn in first is what you're stuck to. If you have a heavy tank, you get 1 life, and that is the only life. So my recommendation is, if you're just getting into sim, play some medium tanks, play some light tanks, play some TDs that you know have 2 spawns, so you can get the feel of the spawn system and play a little bit more. Heavy tanks are a little bit more advanced in sim, and they make a lot of difference because the gunfights are at larger ranges most of the time than in normal RB, and you have less information to feed off of from your teammates and everything going on around you, so you can't really snipe the way you snipe in a normal RB match. You can't catch people really off guard. Everybody's in very hold down positions using the most of their tank, so using a heavy tank and moving position, getting caught out of position, you could just die. Now there are events like this which showcase the E100, and this is the top dog really in this event. It doesn't have to deal with much that can pen it, so I'm silhouetting myself on top and taking challenge, and that's fine. It's completely fine. You can do whatever you want if you play this. I'm just trying to give some people who are new to sim tips on how to prolong your life in this battle. So now that the tips are out of the way, what am I doing in this game? Well, luckily for me, you know, I picked the heaviest tank in the game to play, or one of the heaviest tanks in the game to play, and they put me on a huge desert map, per Gaijin's love for me. And I'm just sitting up top, getting ready to fight whatever I possibly might have to fight. Now, in a situation like this, I wouldn't recommend sitting on top of the hill, but, you know, listen, don't try this at home, kids. I do stupid shit and get away with it sometimes. But always scanning what's around you is very, very important in sim. And as you can see here, I chose to go after the IL-10 for some reason. Or it's an SU-6, I believe. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to hit that. Whenever I see a plane, whatever. I'm not too worried about people penning me from all the way across the map with AP, CBC. The Russia isn't that fearsome. But I do catch an enemy tank lurking up top there. So we start to take some shots, and you'll start to see what I mean about the parallax and this gun sight. It is very hard to snipe with this tank. For some reason, they took the gun sight out of the mouse turret and said that it had no zoom because in real life, when they made the mouse turret, it didn't have a real gun sight in it for the 128 yet because it wasn't an actual production tank. It hasn't finished its service or finished whatever it needed to go through to become a real tank. I think that realistically, if this tank was made and put in such volumes like it is in War Thunder, it would probably have the Jagdtiger sight. That's just what I think. It's in the same spot even, so I don't know why Gaijin chose to not put that in. As you can see here, I'm juggling 2 sets of tanks. There's an IS-6 and a T-44-100 over on that ridge line, and I'm trying to juggle those tanks and still get a shot on this plane, so I'm always looking for this plane. But the big thing here is I see where the plane is flying over, and I start to turn my turret following where he's going to lift off of that path. So he's coming down from my right-hand side. I'm going to look to the left and try to catch him, and I see him going, third person shot, bang. And that's pretty much how I did that. Some of my favorite shots are like that. Usually you catch planes coming in directly at you, but if a plane is not directly attacking you, try to get him when he comes out of his attack. That's his slowest point, and that's the easiest point for you to hit him. And that's kind of just where we got there. I have a big slow turret. It was easy for me to prop the tank looking that way, and luckily he did fly into where I thought he would fly. So now we're taking a look to the right. This dude keeps getting pinged over here, and I'm kind of going by my teammate. And if you're wondering how to ping playing Sim or any game, you press left Alt. At least that's the default control for me, and you can move the mouse across the screen. If you go to the map, anywhere on the map, you can just left click it, and it will ping it for you. You see that IS-6 still shooting at me, and I'm curious about the IS-6 because, like, why does this guy keep pinging here? He kept pinging here. I had no idea. We'll find out soon that the guy is actually up on the mountains, and I can't see him, you know. So I'm gonna keep looking over here. The dude was very adamant on the team about seeing him, and then I saw that there was STA1 or an ST. I don't know what the ST. I think that's an STA1. I saw him going up top, so we just, I'll chug along, drive towards this IS-6 and T-44. And I thought in the back of my head that the T-44 that was over there might not be peeking me anymore. Considering the IS-6 continuously is peeking, I would say, oh, the T-44 might be flanking, right? He's probably going to go up in the bridge and try to get behind me. Later on down the line, that is the case. He does do that. So keep that in mind too. If you see two enemy tanks and then one of them is like constantly peeking you, you know, what do you think he might be doing? That's also a bullshit shot. I mean, that IS-6, how lucky was that dude? Machine gun port 8. It actually might be an IS-4 now that I think about it. I don't think so. Probably an IS-7. Or yeah, it's an IS-7. I haven't had my coffee yet today, forgive me. Now what you see me doing here is just launching. It is an IS-6, I was right. I can't believe he didn't die to that shot on the left hand side of the melee. It got soaked up by the machine gun, which doesn't make sense. I've been using the coax too to some effect. I see that the Lorraine is going over there. We're going to launch some coax rounds and just put smoke up in the guy's face, kind of annoy him. Smoke shells in Sim are really effective too for that reason, and that reason alone is you can just smoke certain places off on the map, and they don't get as much information in RB, so they have zero idea people are there. And there's that guy on the hill. He peeks up. He goes, "Hey, Slick," and it is the T-44-100. I shoot a coax shot just to give him some hope, and then put a shot to the right of his barrel, which you know, ends him quite easily. It's pretty much how this 128 performs. I don't know if in Sim there is more AP filler or something, but every round that you pen in Sim seems more devastating. But I don't want to jump to conclusions for anything. I just always feel like if you penetrate a tank in Sim, they usually die faster, and I don't know. I just think they're more powerful. Flying in planes in Sim too, if you want a tutorial on that, I certainly cannot give you a great tutorial, but I can give you a slight bombing tutorial using mouse aim and keyboard, because that's what I've been flying with. I do have a joystick, but it's got a hat on right now and it's not plugged in. I have track IR, but that's also in a box behind me in my closet, and that's not plugged in, so I usually use mouse aim and keyboard, and that gets the job done. I'll kill a couple planes every now and then, or bomb a couple tanks every now and then, maybe get some rocket runs going here and there. So if you want that tutorial, let me know in the comments down below. If this video helped you, please consider giving me a subscription. Give me a subscription. Now, I don't want you to sub. I want you to go find somebody and then make them sub. No, I'm kidding. And like the video. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So thank you guys for watching. It's been your boy Slick. It's been a pleasure. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace, peace.